Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you a question. Do you want the reward, or are you just chasing the routine? Because if you want the reward, you've got to do more than show up. You've got to outwork the day. Not once, not sometimes, but every day, again and again. Success doesn't belong to the smartest. It doesn't belong to the most talented. It belongs to the most consistent, to the person who says, I don't care how I feel today. I'm showing up anyway. I'm giving it everything I've got. Again. Listen, the difference between winning and losing is not a mystery. It's not hidden in some vault. It's not coded in some secret language. The difference is in the decision to show up with fire every day, even when no one's clapping, even when no one sees, even when it's hard. Sure, here are 6 keynotes. Consistency beats talent yesterday, every day. Momentum is built, not given. Discipline is greater than motivation. Work ethic is a form of worship. Let results speak louder than words. Need these turned into a slide deck or social post. Consistency beats talent. This isn't a motivational slogan. It's a universal principle that governs success across every field of life. You see, talent is flashy. Talent draws applause. Talent gets people noticed in the beginning, but talent without consistency is like a sports car with no fuel. It looks good, but it's not going anywhere. The world is filled with incredibly talented people who never made it because they couldn't show up with discipline. They had the potential, but they lacked the practice. They had the gift, but they didn't develop the grit. And without grit, talent will always fade. Consistency is the great equalizer. It gives the average person the power to outperform the naturally gifted simply by doing the work over and over again. Every day you show up and work, especially when you don't feel like it, you're building something powerful. You're building trust in yourself. You're building momentum. You're creating a standard of excellence that no one can take from you. When someone looks at you and says, you're just naturally good at this, they don't see the hundreds of early mornings, late nights, and moments you showed up when it was hard. They don't see the grind, but you do. And that's why consistency is greater. You cannot rely on your feelings to dictate your actions. If you only move when you're motivated, you will not move far. Motivation is a spark. It's emotional. It rises and falls with your mood. But consistency, that's a decision. That's a decision. That's a character trait. That's something you train. The people who achieve mastery in life are not always the most talented. They're the ones who decided they were going to keep showing up, no matter how they felt. They didn't treat discipline as punishment. They treated it as freedom. Because when you're consistent, you're free from the trap of inconsistency. You're free from the roller coaster of results. You're not guessing what's going to happen. You're planting seeds every single day, and you're trusting the process to bring the harvest. Look around at the most successful people in any field, business, sports, music, ministry, finance, and you'll see a pattern. They don't work harder once in a while. They outwork every day. And the difference isn't in the size of their effort, but in the rhythm of their effort. That's what consistency brings. Flow. Repetition that creates mastery. The first time you do something, it feels uncomfortable. The 10th time, it feels familiar. The 100th time, it becomes automatic. And that's where power lives. And the things you can do without even thinking, because you've practiced them so many times. The challenge with consistency is that it doesn't produce instant results. It's not sexy. It doesn't create fireworks. It's quiet, almost invisible, but it's working. Every single time you say yes to the habit, yes to the discipline, yes to the uncomfortable decision, you are stacking bricks. You are building something permanent. Most people quit too early because they mistake silence for failure. But the silence of the process is not failure. It's formation. And consistency is the tool that forges champions in the dark before the spotlight ever finds them. You have to fall in love with the process. You have to commit to being faithful to the work, not just addicted to the win. Because if you only work when the reward is visible, you're not working, you're waiting. And you don't win by waiting. You win by showing up again and again and again, no matter what. You win by turning daily effort into your default mode. You win by training your mind to say, this is who I am. This is what I do when others are distracted. You're focused when others are stopping. You're starting. When others are doubting, you're deciding. Consistency turns potential into performance. It doesn't matter how talented you are if you can't be counted on. And it doesn't matter how far behind you start if you refuse to stop. The race doesn't always go to the fastest. It goes to the one who refuses to sit down. And over time, the consistent person, the one who keeps showing up when it's boring, when it's hard, when it's inconvenient, will always surpass the talented person who depended on their gift but never developed their grind. Outwork yesterday every day. That's not just a motto, it's a mandate. The person you were yesterday is your only true competition. Not the person in your industry, not your peers, not the influencers online. It's you. The version of you from 24 hours ago is either your greatest threat or your greatest fuel. Every morning you wake up, you've got a choice. Stay on yesterday's level or exceed it. There is no neutral ground. You're either growing or shrinking. You're either advancing or stalling. And in a world that's constantly moving, standing still is just a slower way to fall behind. This is about showing up every day with a spirit that says, what I did yesterday was good, but today I'm going to do better. Not because yesterday wasn't enough, but because you were made for more. This mindset separates those who rise from those who stay stuck. Most people are satisfied with reaching a goal, but high performers, they use that goal as a new starting line because they understand that success is not a destination. It's a rhythm. It's a daily commitment to improvement, to pressure, to progress. Outworking yesterday means you don't allow your past victories to become present limitations. You don't let what you've already done become an excuse to coast. Just because you crushed a workout, closed a deal, or made progress doesn't mean the work is done. The work never stops because the mission is never small. The mission is to become the kind of person who doesn't need external pressure to push. The kind of person who brings intensity to everything, every time, regardless of outcome. Not for recognition, not for validation, but because excellence is your standard, there's a trap that catches too many people, and that's complacency. It hides in comfort. It sounds like, I did enough today, or I deserve to rest now, or nobody else is doing this much. That may all be true, but the point isn't what others are doing. The point is, are you honoring the call on your life? Are you becoming who you're supposed to become? And if the answer is no, or even maybe, then you've got work to do. Again, every day. This isn't about hustle for the sake of burnout. It's not about grinding into exhaustion. It's about progress. It's about measuring yourself against yourself and saying, I'm going to be more focused, more dialed in, more committed today than I was yesterday. It's about sharpening the tools you already have and daring to stretch for more. It's about saying, I will not let yesterday's performance be the ceiling. I will make it the floor. This mindset requires humility. You've got to be willing to admit that who you were isn't who you're called to stay. You've got to love growth more than you love comfort. Most people won't do this, not because they can't, but because they won't. Because it's easier to replay old wins than create new ones. But every time you choose to improve by just 1%, you widen the gap between you and the person who quit on themselves. Every time you run harder, think deeper, act faster than you did the day before, you are becoming someone unstoppable. Let me tell you something. Your results don't lie. Your fruit will always expose your effort. If you're not seeing the results you want, the first place to look is not outside. It's not your environment. It's not your boss. It's not the algorithm. It's you. Look at your habits. Look at your focus. Look at your standard, and then raise it. Because when you hold yourself to the standard of outworking yesterday, excuses die, comparison dies, victimhood dies. And in their place, excellence is born, one choice at a time, 1 hour at a time, 1 day at a time. Again and again, momentum is built, not given. That's the truth most people overlook while they're waiting for inspiration to hit or for the perfect time to begin. Momentum doesn't show up at your door uninvited. It doesn't arrive on a silver platter. It's not some mysterious force that blesses the lucky. Momentum is earned. It's forged in the fire of repetition, effort, and discipline. It's the product of daily, consistent action taken when nobody is watching, when the applause is silent, and when the outcome isn't guaranteed. Momentum is like a flywheel. At first it feels heavy. You push, and it barely moves. The work feels pointless. The effort feels exhausting. You question whether it's worth it, but if you keep pushing, you start to feel a shift. It moves a little easier. It turns with a little more speed. Eventually, you're not fighting the weight, you're riding the wave. You're riding the wave. But that wave didn't create itself. You created it. One disciplined action at a time. Possible. People want the results of momentum, but they don't want the grind it takes to generate it. They want the smooth acceleration without the friction of starting. That's not how this works. You want to get ahead? You've got to show up before it's easy. You've got to put in the reps when no one is clapping. You've got to build the habits that produce momentum long before the momentum feels real. Momentum doesn't respond to talk. It responds to movement. You don't think your way into momentum. You act your way there. And that action needs to be repeated. Not occasionally, not when the stars align, but every single day. If you want to see acceleration in your life, you've got to commit to motion, especially when that motion feels small. A single action may not seem like much, but in the realm of momentum, small actions compound. They stack, they multiply, they build pressure, and over time, that pressure breaks through. The mistake too many people make is quitting too early. They start moving, they take a few steps, and when they don't feel the shift right away, they assume it's not working. But the truth is, it is working. It's just not visible yet. Momentum is like compound interest. You don't see the big return immediately, but if you stay the course, the results will eventually outpace the effort. But only if you keep going. Momentum has a memory. The more you move, the more it remembers how to move with you. That's why rest without a plan becomes rust. If you stop moving long enough, you have to build that momentum all over again. It's always easier to maintain momentum than to rebuild it from scratch. So once you start, protect it, guard it, feed it, keep pushing, keep progressing. Momentum also builds confidence. When you see yourself show up day after day, you begin to trust yourself at a higher level. You start to believe in your ability to produce, to execute, to win. That belief fuels more action, and that action builds more momentum. It becomes a self-reinforcing cycle. But remember, it started with movement, unseen, unglamorous, often inconvenient movement. If you're waiting for momentum to magically appear, you'll be waiting forever. If you're waiting to feel ready, you'll miss your moment. But if you start moving now, if you commit to daily progress, even imperfect progress, you will build something unstoppable. Momentum doesn't belong to the most talented. It belongs to the most consistent. The ones who keep showing up. The ones who keep pushing the wheel when it barely budges. The ones who trust that every effort counts, even when the results are delayed. Momentum is your responsibility, not your environments, not your circumstances, not your coaches, not your teams, yours. It's built through repeated motion, sustained discipline, and an unshakable commitment to move forward no matter how small the steps may seem. Discipline is greater than motivation. Motivation is emotional. It's a feeling, a temporary surge of excitement that comes and goes like the wind. You watch an inspiring video, hear a powerful speech, or experience a moment of clarity, and suddenly you feel fired up. But give it a few hours, maybe a day, and that fire fades. Life gets noisy again. Distractions show up. Fatigue sets in, and if motivation was all you had, you're right back to square one, stuck, inconsistent, and frustrated. That's where discipline comes in. Discipline doesn't care how you feel. Discipline doesn't ask if you're inspired. Discipline doesn't check the weather, your mood, or your level of enthusiasm. It just acts. Discipline is the bridge between intention and execution. It's what gets you to do the work when your emotions scream, not today. It's the habit of honoring your commitments long after the excitement that created them has passed. Motivation may get you started, but only discipline keeps you going. People who rely on motivation live by emotion. People who rely on discipline live by principle. They've trained themselves to take action because it's the right thing, not because it's the easy thing. They don't wait for the feeling. They follow the formula, and that formula is simple. Show up, do the work, stay consistent. The truth is, discipline is freedom. It sounds like restriction, but it's not. It's the key to unlocking the results you want. The person who lives by discipline doesn't have to wonder if they're going to succeed. They know, because they're building success brick by brick every day. Their actions are predictable, their habits are stable, and their outcomes are repeatable. That's the power of discipline. Discipline is what builds resilience. When things go wrong, and they will, motivation disappears, but discipline remains. It becomes the foundation you can stand on when everything else is shaking. It gives you control when life feels out of control. And that kind of consistency creates a strength that no external circumstance can shake. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And discipline is your system. It's what turns dreams into deadlines and potential into performance. The difference between the person who finishes and the person who fails isn't always talent. It's the ability to show up and follow through no matter what. That's discipline. Some people chase motivation like it's a missing ingredient. They scroll, search, and wait for the right moment to feel ready. But the people who win, they don't wait. They decide. They don't need to feel like it. They've built the internal muscle to act regardless. Discipline doesn't demand perfection. It demands repetition. It says to do it again, whether you feel like it or not. It's not glamorous. It's not loud, but it works every time. Every result you want in life is on the other side of disciplined action. Not one big effort, not a weekend sprint, but a daily decision to honor your priorities, stay focused, and do. People will say all kinds of things, what they're going to build, how they're going to change, who they're becoming, but most of them never follow through. They get addicted to the feeling of talking about it instead of doing it. But those who are serious about growth don't broadcast every move. They don't need constant attention. They let their progress do the talking. They let the scoreboard settle the debate because nothing silences doubt like undeniable fruit. This is not about staying silent. It's about earning your voice. It's about making sure that when you speak, your words carry weight because they're backed by action. The most respected people in any room aren't the loudest. They're the most consistent. They've shown up long enough, worked hard enough, and delivered enough that people lean in when they talk. Their life speaks for them. Their results speak louder than their hype. Letting your results speak is also about humility. It's understanding that greatness isn't measured by how many people you impress. It's measured by how many people you impact. You don't have to prove yourself every second. You don't have to defend your hustle. Produce. Over time, results will make the noise for you. They'll confirm your discipline, your skill, and your leadership. But only if you're willing to stay focused on the work instead of the reaction. Most people want credit too early.